Good morning, everyone. I am super excited. I drove in last night to Ridgeway/𝐒𝐨𝐜𝐚𝐫/Telluride area, that whole San Juan spot for the fall color change. And as I turn the corner, you're still like an hour away from the San Juans, but you can see them pretty far. Last night it was like dusk and there was barely any light, and I could see snow on the peaks, which is huge because last year when I was here, the conditions were absolutely terrible. It was just hazy and smoky and no rain and no clouds, and it's been raining all night, and I am excited to see what happens. It is completely dark outside. If you can believe, it's only been 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes since I shot the video a second ago when there was no light. I am up here on my car to get a vantage point because of all this brush that is down here. And as you can tell, that is the scene behind me. Super gorgeous. I've shot this shot multiple times, multiple episodes last time I was here, and I'll put a little bit on the screen now so you can kind of get an idea of what that looked like when I was here before. Basically, we have to wait to see if these clouds clear up enough to show the mountains and catch some of the light. There is light happening right now. It'll probably be another 5 minutes until it's this, and cross your fingers. 1 second I'm talking to you guys, the next second it's starting to pour. Yeah, so I had to scramble to get all the stuff back in the car, jump through the moonroof, and as you can tell, those mountain peaks, well, you can tell it's raining, those mountain peaks are now completely covered in clouds, meaning we didn't get a shot, but that has not gotten me down. It is absolutely beautiful morning. I'm gonna put the shot up that I took before the sun even came up to kind of give you that idea of those tones that are in it. There's just these aspens that are yellow, but also there's a lot of these red and green tones that just mesh really well, and I really like them. And if the mountains had cleared up, would have been absolutely spectacular. But that's not the point. The point is that I spent 5 days here last time with no rain, all smoke and haze, and no clouds, and it was miserable. And just to see this rain means like that is not gonna happen. And I am super stoked, super excited for tomorrow morning or the next morning after that to get the shots that I want. I'm gonna drive around now and look for more shots, have some fun, have a good morning. Yeah, I'm not letting this get me down at all because it just means that there will be shots in the future, and I'm super excited. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching. Rufus, you said you wanted to interrupt this video. Is it because of that 2022 calendar you got right there? With images from throughout the year that's linked down below? Is that why you wanted to interrupt the video? Okay. Okay, so we have driven around a bit, and you probably saw some shots from the GoPro or the phone. I got a new phone, new iPhone 13 Pro. My phone was almost 4 years old, and I was like, camera on this thing's still great. Well, I was wrong, because I got on this, and it is way better. The footage from this morning where it was just pitch black, I'll be curious to get it on the computer, but it looked incredible, and I'm like, well, I guess I don't need the GoPro for that stuff anymore, or this camera that I'm filming on, because it did the low. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Getting carried away about camera stuff, imagine that. So I've been driving around and came up to the $1 Million Highway. I'm at pretty much the top right now. As you can tell, the conditions currently are rain. It was snowing when I came up here. It stopped, the light came through. Absolutely epic conditions. and then now this again. So I'm kind of just waiting around because the conditions are coming and going, and I'm curious what I can get. So I'm probably gonna hang out in the back or just sit around and wait. I got nothing else going on except shooting these photos, making these videos. So if you're enjoying yourself, you can hit the like button. If you're loving yourself, which you should be, because you should love yourself, I'm loving myself, you should subscribe. Anyways, see you soon. Hope conditions get better. It has been an absolutely insane day. I've been shooting pretty much all day. I don't even remember the last time I filmed myself. I've just been driving around. The conditions have been spectacular. Just rain and snow, and then clouds, and then not clouds, and then rays of sunshine. And I have driven everywhere and anywhere and all around. I tried to film some footage, but realistically just a lot of it was just getting in the car and taking a shot as the light was right, or waiting around for the light, and just, oh man, it's just been absolutely incredible. Does anyone recognize where I'm standing? Probably not. This is where I took this shot that I will put on the screen now in my video from last year. And as you can tell, it is still pretty green in here. So this is definitely going to be an area for probably 4-5 days from now, I'm thinking. So I'll probably come back here, check it in probably 2 or 3 days, and then definitely come back in 4 or 5 days to try to get a shot here. But man, I just felt like it was good to stop, have an update, have a little, 1-year cameo from this spot. We're gonna try to shoot sunset. I'm gonna go to Chimney Rock, which is basically right where I am, True Grit Rock, whatever you wanna call it. See what it looks like color-wise. If it sucks, I'm gonna go back down the hill. There was a spot I saw on the way here, about 5 miles back down. Anyways, stay tuned. Let's get going. Well, that's moody. Pretty sure I also shot this exact shot in that same video, and as you can tell, no sunlight here. So, gonna head back down the hill, and also it's fair to note that a lot of the stuff here is still green as well, so even if there was a sunset, well, it might be pretty epic with all these clouds, but either way, we're gonna head back down the hill, hopefully see some sunshine for sunset in a spot that I saw about 5 miles back, 6 miles back. So, here we go. Okay, well, this is sunset. This was the shot, and I don't think it's happening. Anyways, I'm gonna end the episode there. Actually, I think what I'm gonna do is take one of the photos from today and do an edit on it. Pretty simple edit, probably. Just talk about the photo, talk about the edit, and things like that. So, here is me from the future.
How's it going, everyone? It is me from the future, and we are about to jump into Lightroom. But first, I want to tell you what image I ended up selecting. So the image I actually ended up picking was from my drone that you saw in this video, but it's kind of a complicated image, but it's going to take, little to no time to really explain and show you what I did. But I think there's some really cool things to talk about for this image, more than just a quick edit. And that is, if you're ever taking drone shots, to try to take pano shots if you can, and also bracket your shots. It's going to do two things. One, by taking a pano shot with your drone, you're just going to add more pixels and a bigger image so that if you do end up printing or need a really high quality drone shot, instead of just having the one exposure, you have multiple, and it just makes the image much bigger for future proofing your images down the road. The second thing is, by bracketing the shots, you just get more data out of the camera, because the limitation of a drone is going to be its megapixels and its dynamic range. And by taking a pano, you kind of solve the megapixel issue, and by taking bracketed shots, you solve the dynamic range issue to some extent. So that just gives us more images to work with. We're actually going to be combining 20 images together, but it's actually really simple. So let's jump into Lightroom really quick. Okay, so this is the image we're going to walk away with, but it actually is pretty easy to get to. And this is the image we're going to start with once we combine everything together. So here I have my 20 images, again, 4 pano images, all bracketed with 5 different exposures. So all you're going to do is select all the images by selecting one and then selecting the last one while holding Shift. Right click on any of them, go to Photo Merge, make sure you select HDR Panorama. That's going to bring up a preview so you can select what projection you want. The biggest thing you need to make sure of is that all 20 images were successfully merged, and in this case they are. Between these, I know that it's either going to be spherical or cylindrical. If you want more in-depth explanation on what those are, you can check out my video on creating panos here. But realistically, it's going to be the cylindrical one, because you can see the spherical kind of just scrunches everything down a little bit too much. Cylindrical looks like the proportions are pretty good. We're just going to boundary warp it all the way to 100, and that's going to give us our image. So this is the image that we actually are going to come away with once we combine everything into it. And you can see that the resolution is roughly 8,000 by 6,000, which is higher than my R5. That should give you an idea of the kind of pixels you're working with. The other thing to keep in mind is, because this is an HDR image, meaning it's 32-bit, there is a ton of data to work with here, like all the way in the shadows and all the way in the highlights for recovery. That is because we bracketed those shots. We got more dynamic range out of the drone, which is a Mavic 2 Pro, and we just have more to work with. Now, let's do the edit really quick. You're going to see how fast this changes with just a few things. So the first thing I'm going to do is select Adobe Landscape, and then I'm going to come down here, bump my blue saturation all the way up. And recently I've been kind of decreasing my hue here. We'll just start at -10. And then the next thing I want to do is come in and add my contrast in. Now, that was maybe 20 seconds and we went from this to this. There's a few things we need to fix, a few things I want to make sure that the viewer's eye actually sees first, which is going to be this light on the aspens. The way I'm going to do that is actually bring the exposure of the whole image down by roughly half a stop. And then I'm going to bring a graduated filter here with it affecting the bottom half of the image. Let's reset this. And I'm just going to bring up the whites, and you can tell how much that makes those aspens pop, but it's not bringing up any of those shadows or the areas I don't really want the viewer's eye to immediately look at. I'm going to bring up the exposure just ever so slightly, something along those lines. Now I'm going to bring down the highlights for the whole image. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to bring up the dehaze, which does a lot with these drone images. You can tell how much micro contrast it added in the sky. Let me reset this so you can get an idea. It just really makes it pop, but you have to be careful because it will make the image more blue. Speaking of blue, let's get the color balance right. Normally I suggest selecting the white balance in the beginning, but in this particular image, I kind of knew that as I added things, it might create either more blue or more warmth. And because I've created more blue into the image by bringing that blue saturation slider all the way up and adding some dehaze, I kind of want to warm up the whole image just a little bit, but not too much. Somewhere around there. It looks pretty good. Next thing, I'm going to bring up some clarity. It's really going to make those aspens pop. You can tell just maybe 10 clarity really makes everything right there get a lot brighter. I'm going to bring the saturation down just a little bit. It's looking a little too hot. The other thing you have to keep in mind that I'm going to do last here is bring down the blue saturation in my HSL curve, because again, we added a lot of blue to the image. I'm waiting to do that till the end just because I want to kind of add all the contrast and those kind of things in, and then bring down the blue to make it look correct. So we're pretty much close to done actually. So I'm going to come into here to the blue saturation and bring it down to maybe -25. And it's looking a little dark, so I'm also going to bring up the luminance. And the final thing I'm going to do is just come in here and add some sharpening, maybe about 70. You got to be careful on these drone shots because they're also a little bit sharper than most of your mirrorless or DSLR shots, but you can get away with about 70 on a large pixel image like this. Hit full screen and check it out. Let it load. And it's looking pretty good. I think those aspens are still just a tad too bright. So we're going to bring down the highlights just a little bit more. We're going to come back into that G&D that we have and bring down the whites just a little bit. I think that looks a little bit better. And that's pretty much it. That's the whole edit. Like I said, it sounds a lot more complicated than it is. But I think what's really important is that if you are taking shots with your drone, try shooting bracketed, first of all. Try shooting some panos to just add some more resolution to that tiny little sensor that it has. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, as always, you can like it. And if you loved it, you can subscribe. I'll see you again next week. Later.